Next. Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Bruno,
Hi, I'm Hollis Silverman.
and today we're going to talk about traumatic brain injury. I just wanted to talk about this briefly with people as an educational tool, so you understand what's going on maybe when a friend or a family member has a car accident or falls in some way and hits their head, and you start seeing all of these symptoms. Like, what do you do, and what do you make of it, and where do you go from there, and maybe how can you help your friend or your family member get through a traumatic brain injury. So there are two types of traumatic brain injuries: open and closed. Open is very simple. It's like as if something came and went through your skull. Obviously, it is the most detrimental because something has gone through your skull and penetrated your brain. The second is closed injury. Most people have a closed head injury at some point in their life. They've been in a car accident, they've fallen from stairs, the roof, a tree. If you're in a contact sport, you've definitely had some form of a concussion before. Or if you just love to fight with your spouse, who knows. So some of the symptoms that come about because of a traumatic brain injury are you wouldn't even realize. So some are irritability, confusion, disorientation, low frustration tolerance, attention issues, concentration issues, personality changes, vision problems, balance issues, moody, just over generalized moodiness. It also depends on what part of the brain has been affected. You have 4 lobes. You have the frontal, you have the occipital, you have the temporal, and you have the parietal. Each lobe controls different functions of what you do. So, and very scaled down description of each one is occipital is in control of your vision. Your frontal lobe is executive functioning and mood regulation. Your temporal lobe's memory and language, and parietal lobe's balance. So if you get hit, if you sort of like in whiplash, if you do something like this and you hit the back of your chair, your seat, and then you hit the steering wheel, you're going to have possibly vision issues and executive functioning issues, which is the concentration, the attention, and emotional regulations, the irritability, the changes in personality.
So then somebody that hits their head going this way with their frontal lobe, they would probably want to make sure that they enter into therapy, because they're going to probably have issues with, maybe attention, irritability, as you were saying, low frustration tolerance.
I would even go a step further. Anyone who has any form of a closed head injury that has a contusion, which is bleeding underneath the brain or the skull, or maybe even sometimes a concussion. I had a client, a teenager, who was in lacrosse and she got checked really hard, got a concussion, and started having these symptoms. Enter into treatment, whether it's once a week, once a month, just to have an extra set of eyes on them. And with most of my clients that have gone through an automobile accident, I tell them go on a light SSRI. It's the last thing you want to do. I get a lot of clients that come in, they haven't gone to therapy, they're coming in for a neuropsychological evaluation, and they're extremely depressed. And it's hard to decipher what's depression and what is going on neurologically until the depression is taken away, and then I can see what's going on. Now, testing can sort of weed that out, but not 100%. So, and it takes a long time to recover from a traumatic brain injury, whether you've lost consciousness or you haven't lost consciousness. And most of the people that I've encountered, it just depends on the resiliency of the person, the age of the person, what they did prior to the accident, their intelligence prior to the accident, So just because you might have an average IQ and you go down to 5 points, it doesn't seem like a lot as someone who has a high average IQ that goes down 5 points, but it's still the same in that person's existence.
Absolutely.
So
I imagine it's very traumatic in a sense for somebody that goes through, a brain injury, traumatic in terms of, just everyday functioning. Things are different. Maybe they're not functioning really the same way as they used to.
You said the perfect word. Things are different. They don't expect it, because when you have an accident, when you get a broken leg, oh, I'm not going to be able to walk for 6 weeks. But when you get in an accident, all you have is like a contusion, and you're not expecting like a bump on the head to start creating or wreaking havoc on your everyday life, like your concentration. I have a student, so she can't concentrate, she can't pay attention, she can't read as fast as she used to read, and she's got all of this work that she has to do, and then she becomes overwhelmed, and then depressed, and then.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
part of the therapy is sort of educating the client, saying, and they hate me when I say this, it's going to take about 18 months for you to get better. And they go, what? 18 months? I said, but that gives you a lot of time from now until then. So you got all of this improvement to do so you can get back there. So that, then they're like, okay, a little bit okay. Thanks, Dr. Bruno. But
But that's good, though, because at least it gives them that time, though, to get better and to get well, and they don't feel so much pressure. Like, why aren't I getting better after 4 months or 5 months? I should be better by now. But now if you give them that look, it's normal for 18 months for your brain to get back even to just a baseline where maybe you weren't back to completely where you used to be, but you're a lot better. I think it gives them that space, it sounds like.
Yeah, and that client that I was talking to you about that got checked at lacrosse, it took her 5 months to get back to baseline. And that was just a simple concussion. So I just, again, wanted to give you an overview. It's sort of demystify it. You're not alone. It is a scary process. You can get better. The brain has an amazing ability. It's got plasticity. It can regenerate. It can take over functions of other parts of the brain that are no longer work. It's an amazing organ.
Dr. Bruno, isn't there a movement going on now in Pee Wee football where they are trying to ban it? I've heard about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's like a regulatory thing, because all football is regulated. Go figure. And it's actually, sidebar, it is and the NFL is a nonprofit organization. Wrap your mind around that one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, wrap your mind around that one. So, but actually the parents are coming together, and they're banning it from they don't want their kids to play football, because they say by the time a Pee-wee football player that actually makes it to high school playing football, by that time he's already had 5 concussions.
Yeah.
So,
it makes sense.
and then they've already said if you had any more than 5 concussions, your chances of getting Alzheimer's or dementia is like 50%. So the writing is on the wall.
And I know at Nova Southeastern University in Davie, Florida, the Miami Dolphins play there. And I know that, when it comes to football, you have to take a test. Whether, let's say you've had a concussion, you have to take a test in order to get back out into the field. And I believe that's correct.
Yeah, you take it preseason, and then you have to pass it at the same score or higher in order to get back on the field. And a lot of, actually many pro ball high schools are doing that, and other sports as well. Like my kid that was my client, the teenager.